It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
Grew up in a small town, and when the rain would fall down, I'd just stare out my window, dreaming of what could be. And if I'd ended up happy, I would pray, trying hard to reach out, but when I tried to speak out, felt like no one could hear me. Wanted to belong here, but something felt so wrong here, so I prayed. I would pray I could break away. Those words, penned by Bridget Benete, Matthew Gerard, and Avril Lavigne, were most famously sung by the esteemed Miss Kelly Clarkson, who is celebrating a birthday today on April 24th, 2021. Aside from having her name screamed out in pain in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Kelly has been in only one feature film, From Justin to Kelly, because once you've captured lightning in a bottle, why even bother trying again? We hope she's having a wonderful day, as are you, dear listener. Welcome to Saturday Matinee. And in honor of Kelly's victory as the first ever winner of American Idol, I have joining me the fabulous folk singing duo Mandy and Andy.
Hello.
It's Mandy Kaplan and Andy Nelson.
I just stared out my window.
Ooh.
I didn't know Avril Lavigne was
She
involved
is.
in
She's
that.
one of the co-writers of that song.
All right.
See? Look at that. The show just started,
It's a
and
great song.
we've already
It's great.
learned something.
That's how you know great things are afoot.
God love ya.
So my first question is then, what have you guys been watching?
You know, I have been, I feel like I'm on an island as far as my love for the Oscars, because I really love the Oscars. I love just the...
I'm here.
There are two of us.
okay.
There are two of us
Hi,
in the room.
Andy.
Hello.
I just
friend.
haven't seen any of the movies, but I'm going to watch the heck out of the Oscars.
Well, I have been watching the movies. I am down
Sure.
to two things. Actually, at this point, I'm at 1.5 things left that are available. There are 5 shorts that are only available if you go to one of the theaters to watch, like the little short screenings that they do. But otherwise, I've watched everything else. I'm down to the one and only Ivan, which I'm going to watch with my son tonight. And I'm halfway through the Italian Pinocchio with kind of the crazy Roberto Benigni playing Geppetto. So, you know, I'm in the dregs of the Oscars at this point, but it's been fun. And it's weird. I was like, I have never been ever this prepared for the Oscars. I don't know what spurred me on this year, but
well, you can't go anywhere.
well, that's probably true.
Right?
That certainly is. Yeah. So, but it's been fun. I've been watching a lot of good stuff. So just playing a lot of catch up.
So you've seen all the major award winners? You've seen all 10 of the Best Picture nominees in that?
8 Best Picture, 8 this year.
it's just
Yep,
8
I've
this
seen
year?
all of them. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the pictures, performances, the directing, cinematography, music. I even watched, Eurovision Song Contest just for the song. You know, it's.
I'm so sorry,
You know what?
Andy. I tried.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and
Andy.
and I love the
now
song.
I'm not going to watch Life of the Party because
Oh,
I can't.
I didn't say I loved
can't.
it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it well enough.
I did not.
And that song was great.
I brought up this on the episode of Mandemic Mondays that's going to drop on Monday. So I apologize for the
Ooh.
repeat, but it bears repeating.
No, it's a sneak
I am
preview.
obsessed with the TV show on TBS called Chad.
Hmm.
Nassim Pedrad playing a
Oh.
14-year-old boy. She created this show and stars and writes, and it is absolutely hilarious, and she's wonderful. And not only there have been 3 episodes and I watched them, but then I watch them a second time because I'm missing jokes because I'm laughing so much.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
it is
I didn't even know that show existed. I love Nassim Pedrad.
brand
She's
new
great.
on TBS. You can't separate her from this character she has created. Like, you can't believe there's a woman in her 30s under there. Chad is just so cringeworthy and amazing, and so that's what I've been watching.
Interesting. That sounds like an interesting.
Also, it's just
show.
half hours, so I can squeeze it in.
It's easy to watch.
I'm very busy
Right.
and important, gentlemen. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm in the same position. I haven't had time to actually watch any movies lately because I've been extremely busy. But I have started watching a sitcom, and so I'm a little late to the party on this one, but I have started watching Mythic Quest on Apple TV+. I had sort of watched the first episode and was not really impressed. I kind of thought, like, this is just... I don't know, Silicon Valley meets The Office. It's a video game thing. Like, all right. But my friends kept telling me, no, it's really good, really funny. And I started watching just sort of at lunchtime, like half an hour as I eat. And then I got to episode 5 and everything changed. That episode is so freaking good that I'm like, okay, you guys just bought yourself another 6 episodes, because I don't know where you're going with this, but I was amazed. They, in their first season, they decided they had a whole other story to tell, and so they told a completely different story that had none of the principal cast. They're like, nope, we're just going to tell a side story now. And they just had told an entire story of another video game company, the rise and fall of this other video game company. And it starred Charlie Day, I believe, and I'm trying to pull these in the top of my head, and Kristen Milotti. They are not part of the show, but they just put them... No, it's Jake Johansson. I'm sorry, Jake Johansson and Kristen Milotti. They just, like, told a story and hired them just to do this one episode, and then they go back to their regular episodes of the next episode. I'm like, what just happened? Like, another show crashed into the show and then left.
They used to do that on, Mork from Happy Days, and the Golden Girls had like this whole episode that didn't have the Golden Girls in it, and they tried to spin it off, and it didn't go, with Paul Dooley and Rita Moreno. I know way too much about the Golden Girls.
Well, I've been talking a lot about Golden Palace recently, so yeah, I'm right with you on that.
But I feel like, Kyle, I feel like you buried the lead. What are you having for lunch? That's all I care about.
Oh, man, I've just been working my way through all the fast food things in the area, because I'm working from home, and I am too lazy to put something in the oven. So I'm just like hitting all the local shops that are within 10 minutes to there and 10 minutes back. So it doesn't nothing that exciting. But I say I don't know whether I supposedly this ties back in somehow, but just the fact that they would just sort of go completely off the beaten path to tell a totally different story and then come back to it and then just like pretend it never happened was sort of so ballsy that I was impressed. And I'm going to keep following on to see where they go with it. So it's now the 3rd best show on Apple TV Plus.
Nice. They've been cranking out some stuff that I think gives people reason to stick with them. Yes. And I think that's the challenge now with all these different streaming services, which, I mean, I guess to a certain extent is no different than TV shows in the days. They need to get the good programming to keep people wanting to change the dial to that particular channel. So I've just been, I haven't seen all the stuff on what Apple TV Plus has been doing, but I feel like every time I hear about another thing, I'm like, God, there's another thing I want to check out. So kudos to them.
Yeah, they actually have a flagship show now. Like, basically Apple has said, okay, you know what? Our show is Ted Lasso. That's what our thing is about, because Apple had their big presentation where they're talking about new iPads and new Apple TVs and all this stuff. And the one and only show they mentioned was Ted Lasso, and showed a trailer for it. So like, they understand how good of a thing they have for it by making it part of their official presentation, which we never really have seen before. So Ted Lasso, then the second season of that comes out in July
23rd.
So, nice.
July 23rd. Yeah, I've already marked my calendar.
Awesome. Mandy, you brought up TV spinoffs, and I just have to throw this out because I find it interesting. Do either of you know what TV show had the most spinoff series spawned from it?
I think it was Happy Days, wasn't it?
It wasn't. Any other guesses?
Oh. St. Elsewhere?
No,
I know that's always that.
St. Elsewhere.
That's always
was
that
a
show
spin-off.
that people talk about as the cornerstone of that one television show theory. Where they say that all television shows are actually in the same
thing.
show.
Well, no, but St. Elsewhere was, I believe, a spin-off of Cheers. But it wasn't that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'll say that. That doesn't sound right.
Check your facts, Andy. Would it be Star Trek?
No, it led to the spin-off, The Tortellis. Well, it was a crossover with St. Elsewhere. Sorry. Crossover with St. Elsewhere.
Okay.
And Wings actually takes place in the Cheers universe. It's not technically a crossover. But no, Happy Days had Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Joni Loves Chachi, Out of the Blue, and Blansky's Beauties. But it is, in fact, All in the Family. That had 7 spin-offs. It had Maude, Good Times.
And then there's Maude.
Right, Good Times. The Jeffersons, Checking In, Archie Bunker's Place, Gloria, and 704 Hauser. I haven't even heard of 704 Hauser.
I know.
Crazy. Just crazy. So there you go. A little bit of TV tidbits for you.
All right. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of old news. Now let's get to the new news. So I had a couple of news stories that I found that I thought were worth discussing. The first one is they have announced the trio of directors who are going to be directing the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel. I know, Mandy, superheroes are not your jam, but have you seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Is that the half? That's
Animated.
the animated one.
Yeah.
Yes. I loved it. I saw that one.
Yeah, I thought you might have. So
Yes.
that's why I thought. Yeah. So they're making a second one, obviously,
Great.
because the first one made a ton of money, and it was probably one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made.
I would
and
say
it's actually
the
pretty
best,
exciting
yeah.
who they have.
Yeah.
For the trio, it's Joaquin DeSantos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. And it's like, okay, well, who are those guys? Well, Kemp Powers is actually the one who recently wrote One Night in Miami. And got an Oscar nomination for Soul.
Nice.
So already you got some popular. Joaquin Dos Santos worked on 3 of the best animated series of all time: Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and Justice League Unlimited. And Justin K. Thompson was actually the production designer of the first Spider-Verse movie and worked on both Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movies. So like that is a power trio going into
3
this
directors for one movie.
That's
for an animated movie,
yeah.
that's not uncommon though. And there were 3 in the first one as well.
I'm curious though. Did you hear anything why the original trilogy of directors or trio of directors did not come back?
I did not. I would assume that they got big. Like that. Because that's usually what happens on these things. Is once you're in a trio, you're like, oh well.
What's bigger
I'm
than
huge
this
now.
though? I mean, this is.
Yeah.
The sequel is going to be huge.
Yeah, but they also could get solo billing on the next thing. But no, actually, I've not heard why they didn't come back. But I think animated directors tend to burn out just because of hard. And I've heard that movie in particular was challenging because they were changing and cutting and remember right up until I believe they said like 2 days before the premiere. Like they were still editing and making changes and getting it ready before they had their final render.
Interesting.
Just because their animation style, I guess, made it a lot easier to do than like a Pixar or a Disney.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Well, I was looking him up. I did see that Rodney Rothman, who was one of the originals, he's actually now, it sounds like, attached to the untitled 21 Jump Street spinoff. So speaking of spinoffs, there's a movie spinoff they're going to do there. So interesting. Okay. Well, I'm excited. I love the Spider-Verse movie. I think it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. I just couldn't believe how brilliantly they told that story. And Miles Morales was just an incredibly created character. So I can't wait for this. I think that, I'll be there opening day when this one, wherever I'm able to finally see this one.
Yeah, true. Hopefully by the time it comes out, which is in October of 2022, we will be in a much healthier place where we can all just arm in arm go into the movie theater and breathe on each other's faces and it'll be fine. Just like
I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go breathe in as many faces as I can. Is that weird?
Speaking of digital trickery, the next story I thought was fascinating is about Army of the Dead. So Zack Snyder's new zombie movie taking place in Las Vegas, a Las Vegas that has been overrun by zombies. And yet somehow it's important that you need to get money out of it. I don't know why. That's the big question that both awesome trailers have not answered quite yet.
Well, this is the problem that you run into in every disaster. Is there are people who are just like, you know what, it's a disaster. I'm going to use it as an opportunity to get rich. And they're the ones who are stealing the ATMs out of the gas stations during the hurricanes and then getting devoured by crocodiles.
There's bigger issues, and where are you going to spend the money when half the population is trying to eat you? But I don't know. Maybe they're going to address that, but we'll see. But
I hope
the
so.
most exciting thing that I've heard so far about it that took the movie from that looks interesting to I have to see this movie is originally a comedian was in it who has been revealed to be kind of a monster. So they have they were like, well, we already shot stuff with him. What are we going to do? I know. Let's digitally replace him with Tig Notaro. And already your movie has just gotten 50% better. So yeah, they went through and digitally removed him and added in Tig Notaro over his part in the entire movie. And
is it Louis C.K.? I don't know anything about this.
No, I was trying not to mention his name to give him more hype, but it's Chris D'Elia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Turns out that he was being inappropriate with his fans and wasn't really checking what their ages were.
Yes.
So, yes. So he needs to take a long, deep look at himself. And
I've always said D'Elia. Am I wrong? Not that I refer to him a lot.
It's D with the flying thing, so I always think it's D'Elia, but I actually honestly don't care.
Nope.
So Yeah.
Let's never speak of him again.
Exactly. Or hopefully he's getting the help he needs because he does need help. But the best thing is now we have more Tig Notaro, and more Tig in the world is a very, very good thing. And she looks freaking awesome in this.
She looks bad ass.
Yeah. She's
cool.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
It'll fun to see her stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. I hope that she actually got to work with some of the other actors. They just didn't have her in a green screen for a weekend.
A lot of tennis balls.
But
yeah, I wonder what the shooting. Yeah, I wonder if they went the full, the richest man in the world or all the money in the world. I mean, with Christopher Plummer, where they actually did some reshoots, but some of it was just digital replacement. I'm curious. And
then Mary Sue had a very fun article talking about how we should just put Tig in all the movies with troublesome people.
You know, I love that because Pete and I, after the whole thing with Christopher Nolan or Christopher Plummer replacing Kevin Spacey in All the Money in the World, we pretty much started always referring to any Kevin Spacey performance as Christopher Plummer in the role, and just because we think that's funny. And but now I'm like, God, it'd be fun to just keep doing that, putting him in all these things. But now I love the idea that they're doing it with Tig Notaro and
Tig Notaro in Ghost Dad.
Yeah.
I
think
we all remember Ghost Dad.
Tig Part 6.
Tig Notaro in Annie Hall with Diane Keaton.
Tig Notaro in Baby Driver. I mean,
it's great. They talk about putting him in, replacing the Army Hammer in Death on the Nile.
I love it.
Very funny. So
Tig Notaro in Usual Suspects. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think that it's fun that they're able to kind of play around with these ideas, and yes, you're right. We need more Tig in the world.
Yeah. So Amazon just set a brand new world record, and I don't know, it's one that they should be super proud of. The Lord of the Rings television series that's coming out. We've yet to see a single frame of footage or even a single costume, and yet it has now become the most expensive television show in history.
Oof.
Because their one season, which we still don't even have an air date for, cost more than the entire run of Game of Thrones.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, I did the math before we came on here. The entire run, yes, and all 7 seasons of Game of Thrones cost less than one season of this Lord of the Rings series.
Wow.
I just don't even know what to say.
$500 million. That's how much Amazon has spent.
Any of that money is going to get me to watch one frame of this.
Or I was going to ask, are you you're not a Lord of the Rings fan either?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm there. I'm totally there. I'm ready to watch it. How many episodes is it? I mean,
we don't even know. They said 12, but
wow.
I don't know.
At that budget, it should be 150.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
right?
A lot of episodes.
It's like the GDP of a country.
Oh.
Holy cow.
Wow.
That's some seriously disturbing amount of Amazon money that Bezos is putting behind it. But hey, I still want to watch it. So
yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, can you imagine if the show comes out and bombs?
I mean, that would be a horrifying thing. I would imagine that they're going to, put on another 100 million or something just to fix those issues.
Yeah, focus groups.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let's hope the family of J.R.R. Tolkien is happy because they're the ones who are greenlighting this whole thing and allowing it to happen. So hope they get their money's worth.
Do we even have any sense as to what stories they're exploring on the show? Has that been announced at all?
No, they haven't even officially come out. But I did see an interview with Stephen Colbert, who said he was introduced to the head of television for Amazon, whatever the official title is. And he then, because he being the huge Lord of the Rings geek, laid out what he thought it was. I bet you're telling the story of, and he laid down all the stuff about basically the young Aragorn, essentially, 200 years before all the events and stuff. And when the rings were still in circulation and Sauron was still on, the beautiful bright Lord and all this stuff. He laid it out and he said, I bet you that's the story you're telling. And he said the executive just turned and walked away. So it's okay. Does that mean he was right? Or I don't want to talk to this nerd? Colbert made a pretty good case for it, so we'll see. Hopefully we're going to see something soon, because that much you'd think they put a trailer out. So the last news story I found isn't actually a current news story, but I just found it fascinating because it was something I didn't know, because it's about Ridley Scott's 1985 fantasy epic Legend, starring Tom Cruise and Tim Curry. I did not realize that it had a different score in different countries.
No, not just different countries. It's even like the cuts, because you can watch.
Yeah, exactly. There's the two.
Yeah.
The differences between the two. The longer sort of director's cut has Jerry Goldsmith, but
Right.
the original theatrical release has Tangerine Dream. So you have a traditional orchestral score and German technopop.
Yep.
I did not even know that was a thing. And so now I'm like fascinated by this. Andy, can you think of any other movies that have had two scores?
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely happens, because this is one of those weird things that it's never made sense to me. But one of the quote cheaper fixes that studios can do when a movie comes along and the focus group just isn't clicking for some reason, one of the cheaper fixes that they can do is get a new score. I don't know why. And oftentimes the original score just completely disappears. That happened with, well, actually, I think it was the movie that you had on your list last week, Troy. I can't remember who. I think, was it James Horner who ended up doing the score for that?
I believe so. Yeah.
It was, but Gabrielle Yared wrote the original score, and that's not something that you can track down. And so, or maybe it is.
So,
sometimes these things pop up in these.
Well, I know. I've heard of scores getting replaced. I mean, I've heard of like that. You know, they recorded an hour of the music and then they got fired, and somebody else had to come in. It's usually like Hans Zimmer, like suddenly comes,
right,
flying in, rappelling off of a helicopter or whatever.
How often do we actually get to hear it? Like in context of the movie,
and then like released, and then even with the director's cut, or whatever, that a totally different person does music for it. And this one, a totally different genre of music.
Yeah, I mean, they're both still kind of that fantasy-ish sort of movie, because I mean, Tangerine Dream was doing a lot of scores at the time, and I think that their music kind of works. I actually like both scores. I think.
You've seen both.
I mean, I'm a big score collector, and Jerry Goldsmith's one of my favorites. As Pete knows, I'm always talking about the 10 J's of composing and everything, and he's one of them. And so I love Jerry Goldsmith's music in general. Legend is not one of my favorite films, and neither of the scores are one of my favorites, but I find it all very interesting. I find both scores have interesting elements, and they do different things with the story. Now that I think about it, I can think of examples where a composer's work was put back into a film, or I should say extended pieces of it. In fact, like I think Ridley Scott's Alien, like when he did his director's cut, he added some more of Jerry Goldsmith's music, stuff like that. But I can't, you may be...
Well, obviously, Peter Jackson adds another hour of footage back in the thing, so that all has to be scored too. I can think of that expanded, but never like the... different versions of a movie with entirely different musical scores. I'd have
to really dig. I mean, I'm curious about things like, there was that version of The Exorcist. No, was it The Exorcist or The Omen, where they came out with like a prequel, and I think it was Rennie Harlan or Paul Schrader, like one of the two of them, like was originally directing it, and then they took it away from them and gave it to one of those other two guys. And so that's something, but then they ended up releasing both versions of the movie. And so I wonder if they have different scores. That would be the only one that comes to mind, and I haven't researched it to know for sure. But it's a rarity. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, it coming up in doing my research for the director's cut episode of Take 10 we just put out. That sort of came around that there's two different versions, and I had never really heard of that before, so I thought it was worthy of discussion. Mandy disagrees.
No, I don't know anything about it. Yeah. I find that very interesting.
Have you ever seen Legend?
No.
Tom Cruise, 1985?
Mia Sara?
No.
Tim Curry
in
one of the
devil.
greatest performances.
Yeah.
Creepy. It's worth looking at, because it's an interesting kind of film to kind of fit into Ridley Scott's and Tom Cruise's filmography. It's like, oh, this is an odd stop for you both to take. But I don't know. It's not a favorite of mine, but it certainly is an interesting one.
That's all I had for news. Let's move into trailers. Andy, you were the first one in there, so tell us about your cyber thriller.
I just have to say I'm shocked that I got in there first, because Mandy is notoriously the one who gets in there first. And so
I've had a busy week.
I guess that's what it comes down to. Yeah. So my film is Profile, and it's interesting because it looks like a film that would have been shot during COVID. Like the bulk of the film, it's like Zoom calls and Facebook Live and those sorts of things. We're following an undercover journalist who infiltrates kind of this Islamic group, kind of to get into this terrorist organization, or trying to figure out, does it lead to this terrorist organization? All this, and she's kind of drawn in by this very handsome, very charming recruiter who seems great, but she also has, is he dangerous? But she's got a boyfriend and all this sort of stuff. And it's like those worlds start colliding, as we often see in stories like this. I was really surprised as I was researching this that it was actually made in 2018, long before COVID, long before they needed to film something like this. So that really surprised me. But it's I'm going to butcher his name, Timur Bekmambetov, who is an
Russian.
interesting Russian director, who did that interesting pair of films, Day Watch and Night Watch.
Yes.
And then
And Wanted.
And
Right?
Wanted, and then I believe was he the one who was behind Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
I think so.
I think he did that one too. So a very interesting, stylish, big director who does all sorts of kind of effects films and things like that. And now he's doing this, and I'm really curious because it totally is kind of a change of pace for him.
Amy, you're the best journalist we have. I need something that's going to get people talking now.
I might have something. I've been investigating a story about young women being recruited by extremists over social media.
This is brilliant. How'd you make contact?
I created a fake profile, posing as a young convert to lure one of the recruiters to me. I'm going to share my screen. It's kind of hot.
Do you think?
The IT guys can record your desktop.
Amy, tattoos are prohibited.
Can you see the tattoo?
No. Ready to go.
He's calling.
And I'm going to record it all.
Assalamu alaikum, my sister. Tell me about you. You're beautiful.
In the beginning, he would be testing the waters. He's a hunter. He wants to seduce me first.
I love you!
Only then will he give me a guide into the recruitment process.
Come here. I'll give you everything you need.
A whole new life, a very happy one.
You have to believe me, it's paradise.
If I want to come to Syria, what do I need to do?
You're making me so happy right now.
Are you falling in love with him?
It's all just part of the recruitment process. Baker. What's the training program like for converts like us?
Hey, baby.
What are you looking at?
Nothing, I'm looking at you.
You wouldn't lie to me, would you?
I thought it was an excellent trailer, and I was immediately hooked, cared, wanted to see how it turns out. Very charmed by the recruiter. This seems like a really interesting performance. I've never seen him before, but I don't know if it was a title card or something that they said like filmmaking like you've never seen before, or groundbreaking filmmaking. But from frame one, I was like, oh, it's just like that movie Searching.
Right.
And then at the very end, it said from the folks that brought you Searching.
Right.
And I'm like, so why are you saying it's like nothing we've ever seen before? So that, I guess, bumped for me because this is not groundbreaking anymore. Now we have seen movies that take place on computer screens with the, zooming and Facebooking and all of that. And that's okay. And I totally thought it was a COVID film. So
Yeah. Right.
I'm definitely going to see it.
What was the horror
grateful.
movie that was like that? Was it Host?
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
But I know what you're talking about.
no. I know what you mean.
I can't remember.
Something about friends or like.
Yeah, it was when all the friends got together and they do like a seance on Zoom and then they start getting haunted.
Yeah. But so good choice, Andy. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, pretty interesting. It's Shazad Latif was the guy you're talking about. And he was in the
Shazad
second
Latif.
best exotic Marigold Hotel.
Well, yes, but that's not what we know him from. We know him from Star Trek Discovery. Because he played Ash Tyler on that.
Right.
He was huge on that. He was also in Penny Dreadful. He played the very, very underwritten Dr. Henry Jekyll. Because he never turned into Hyde. So, like, what was the point of even having Dr. Jekyll
That's
around?
really
You're not
funny.
gonna, strange.
So funny. What did you think of it,
unusual
Kyle?
show.
Did you?
I liked it. I have not seen Searching, but I'm still confused by watching someone's computer screen as a movie. Like I don't know if that would work. Like I like the idea that they're going with here, and I'm a big fan of Shazad already. But I don't know if this is sustainable for 90 minutes, where it's like you're just watching chat windows and stuff going through. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if there was limitations always lead to creativity. So, I mean, I'm willing to give it open mind, but I'm curious to see if it actually can be done, because I kind of feel like Timur is sort of limiting himself, because like when you've seen, a vampire driving a hot rod on the side of a building, and then the next one is a guy's search history, you kind of go, what happened? Because he's such a visual, dynamic director. I don't know.
But
just
don't you
moving
think
boxes around, is that exciting?
But it allows him to like try something new, and that's what I think is
True.
Is exciting. So I don't know. Color me excited.
We'll see.
I'm curious
about
this one.
We'll see if it works. Out. Yeah. I do remember, just because I'm a font nerd, the Daywatch, when they put out in America, had some of the best subtitles in movies ever, because they actually animated them.
Interesting.
Like, that's the thing that annoys me when they bring a foreign film over and they just put like white Helvetica, just pop it on the screen. But that one, actually, it would pour onto the screen and they would dissolve away. Really? Whoever did that really put a lot of work into that, and I appreciated that. Not enough companies do that when they bring a foreign film over.
Yeah.
They just have somebody type it out and then just add to frame.
That's because it's one of those line items that you don't really budget much for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this opens May 14th. So you'll be able to see it in theaters and possibly streaming. At this point, it just says in theaters May 14th. So I guess I'm curious. And just to clarify, it was Host that we were talking about.
Well, I was right.
You were right.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I know there's The Host, which is a whole different movie, which is also fantastic. But Host. Okay. Yeah, I think we talked about that on a previous set, Matt, too.
Yeah.
So I'm up next, and I made Mandy watch a superhero trailer. Yeah.
I gave you 10 years to live your life. Now you see me rise. And where did that get you? You walked in my shadow. I trained you. So the most dangerous people in the world couldn't kill you. Son, it's time for you to take your place by my side. You better watch out, 'cause it's my time.
So my trailer was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This is going to be not the next Marvel movie, but the next after that. And this is actually a trailer long delayed because of weird COVID. This movie has moved around a lot. They didn't know where it was going to land, and so now it's coming out September, and here it is April, and just by the math, you're expecting this sooner. But it was worth the wait because it looks really, really good. An amazing cast. You've got Awkwafina is back again. She's really doing great stuff for Disney right now. They seem to really enjoy her, and so she's been doing a lot of fun stuff. So I'm highly looking forward to it. I'll be doing my deep nerdy dive to it on the live show. So you can, if you're interested in that, you can go check it out. So I won't bore you with all of my weird details that I picked down there too. But what did you guys think of the trailer?
Oh, you know me. It's, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Marvel movies. I have a lot of fun with that. And this is a property that I've been excited about since I heard that they were doing it. And and I really love that they cast Simu Liu to play Shang-Chi, who I think is so funny. And if you haven't seen Kim's Convenience, you need to check that show out. It is such a funny show. I really enjoy it, which I think
is that the
still on
Canadian.
It is Canadian convenience store.
That's the if you loved Schitt's Creek, you'll love this.
Yes,
that's what people saying. Okay,
yeah, it's a very, very funny show, and he's great in it. It's just a fun show, period. But I'm excited to see what he's going to do here. It's I don't know. I can't wait. I think that it's going to be really fun to see this new exploration of the Ten Rings. Which I spent a lot of time talking about back in the first season of Marvel Movie Minutes. So it'll be nice to see how it evolves now.
I wish God, I'm such a spoil sport. It looked very cool. The fighting looks incredible. It looked very stylish and sleek and exciting. But, I'm not into action movies. So, and I definitely eye rolled at Awkwafina. I have to be honest. I'm a little Awkwafina out. And Andy, we watched Breaking News in
We did.
Yuba County,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So you understand I'm a little resentful of Awkwafina at the moment. I need a break from her. But, I watched it with that sense of like, oh, this looks really cool. For people who like Marvel movies, this looks fantastic.
Can I tempt
not for
you
me.
by saying that Destin Daniel Cretton is directing it, who did Short Term 12, which I think is one of the
Just Mercy.
just fantastic films.
Who did what with the Who and the What?
Did you see the film Short Term 12?
No.
Oh, you need to watch that. That's about a bunch of staff who work at a treatment facility who are dealing with just kind of like the people in the treatment facility, and particularly Brie Larson's character is dealing with her coworker and boyfriend and stuff like that. But Brie Larson, Rami Malek was in it, and Lakeith Stanfield.
Oh God, I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I do.
It's a powerful film that has nothing to do with superheroes. So even if you're not interested in
Short Term
this,
12.
check that out. Yeah.
I did see a meme that this movie reminded me of. I mean, it looks like a lot of these actors are doing their own fighting. Am I inaccurate about that?
No, you're correct.
And I saw this cute meme, and I'm sure it's really old and everybody has seen it, of like Brad Pitt sitting with his stuntman having coffee. And then there's one of like a Helmsworth and his stunt double having coffee. And it's like leading men and their stunt doubles. And you scroll and you get to the bottom and it's just Jackie Chan. And he's like all by himself. And I love him. And I was like, that's so cool. Like he's, so I have a definite admiration for martial arts and for the artistry of it. So
well, that's what looks interesting about this. Like when we go into some of like the big, more fantastical fights and stuff, it ends up taking on this look that feels very much like kind of those bigger martial arts films, or the type of films that Zhang Yimou was doing with like Hero and those sorts of films. So.
It has there's definitely some wushu there at the start where they're going to be seeing some fantastical stuff, and then we have just a straight street fight on a bus as it's careening through the streets of San Francisco. So I think it's going to be. I'm really forward to that. So that's coming out September 3rd, and also at the end of the trailer it said only in theaters. So I don't think we're actually going to get premiere access for this one. I think we're actually going to have to drag our butts to a movie theater in order to see it.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, they changed their mind on Black Widow a couple of times.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
So a couple weeks ago, you had a trailer about Sasquatch.
I did.
And now Mandy wants to tell us a little bit about Bigfoot.
I want to be just like Andy. That's
we all?
That's my main goal in life. So I found a trailer that was intriguing to me. It is very, I don't know if you would say cinema verite. It looks very much like Blair Witch Project. It looks very much like it was made during COVID. And I could be wrong. I didn't research it because I'm a terrible person. But it is called 15 Things You Didn't Know About Bigfoot. Number 1 will blow your mind.
Something is watching us.
You got this, right?
When we set out this morning, none of us could have predicted a dead body. And just by chance, we had...
Oh, I'm fine.
So we're here in Georgia at the largest Bigfoot convention in the Southeast.
Well, here she is. I know she looks kind of small, but she'll fit the two of you real comfortably.
Fit us for what?
For the field expedition tonight.
Did Shane approve this? Who is this guy?
What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, the Cryptid Commander, hunting the Sasquatch himself.
While our first day had been fun, we were beginning to wonder if our guide was reliable.
Man, Jeff, I pulled out the map. I asked you if that's where we turn, and you said yes.
Shut up! Because I'm pretty sure we're in the path of a Bigfoot right now, and we don't want to disturb it.
It is directed by Zach Lamplugh. I'm not quite sure how to say his name. And it looks really funny and clever. And the premise is that these are Bigfoot hunters and they go out and there's an ominous voiceover about like the first night we went out, we saw a dead body. But then it immediately turns comedic and one of them is puking aggressively, projectile vomiting from seeing the dead body. And the first Chiron is like brought to you by filmmakers you've never heard of. I always appreciate that self-deprecating nod. And just when I thought I know they made it for $1.73. You can tell, which I admire, and I have no problem with whatsoever.
Sure.
Just when I thought, oh, it's really just two dudes with a camera following them around, then all of a sudden there are other people introduced, and of course, Deliverance references. But I was like, just where I needed it, they brought in a world that was just more than these two dudes in the woods. So I'm curious. It looks funny. It has 6.6 on IMDb. That's a thing, right?
It reaches the Andy scale. So
well, no, it's Pete's 6-star rule is what
all right.
that is.
So I'm curious. 15 things you didn't know about Bigfoot. Number 1 will blow your mind. And it comes out May 7th streaming.
I just have to say I love the title. The fact that they're playing into that whole clickbait type of title, it's just I don't know, it makes me laugh. And there's something that I don't know why I'm drawn to Bigfoot stories, but and it's funny, I'm drawn to them, but I so rarely watch them. But I'm like, gosh, that could be a really cool concept. And so I'm wondering, like, is this going to actually be a cool concept, or will I watch it and go, it was cheaply made and entertaining enough? Like, I feel like if I can get that out of it, then at least they did their job.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. It is 83 minutes long, so they're not going to overstay their welcome.
True. That's always a good thing.
But I also like the fact that it has shades of Blair Witch. I mean, that's intentional, I think. But then you see the monster, so the Bigfoot actually is in the movie. So it's not going to be one of these a bunch of guys wandering around through the woods and we never actually get to see the titular character. We actually get to see him, I think, on screen killing someone. So it does turn into a monster movie at some point. But yeah,
am I the only one who wants to giggle because you said titular?
You know, if you want to giggle, Mandy, you go ahead.
Hello.
Well, yeah, I feel the same way. Like, basically, they had a couple guys and a camera and a fursuit. Let's go make a movie. Great,
right?
So yeah, I think the original title was The Vice Guide to Bigfoot. So they definitely made the right choice in changing the title. But yeah, it could be fun. A sort of simple, down and dirty comedy. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looks like a directorial debut, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think he had worked on Squidbillies before, so if you were a fan of that show.
Never heard of that one.
Oh, really? That's from the Adult Swim days? No? They passed you both by? Okay. Okay, all right, so this is normally where there'd be a brand new game, but I decided to do something a little different because I was feeling more creative. So I put out a challenge to both Mandy and Andy, and I said, I would like you to build a film festival. To pick 5 movies that you think people should watch in the order that you should watch them, and then talk a little bit about why you picked these movies and wanted to watch them like this. So, technically, Andy, you had the first trailer, so you can go first, but you can defer if you'd like to, because I know you were a little nervous about having enough time to have a quality film festival put together.
I was, but it was one of those ones where it's like, once I clicked with an idea, I'm like, oh, okay, I can run with this. And I put it together in like 5 minutes.
That's what I hope would happen.
So it all worked. I had a lot of fun with this, and I actually went so far as to time it out. So we're starting at 7 p.m. It's going to be an all-night film festival. So we're going to be watching at night, which is it's going to be fun. We're starting with a Korean film, and are we supposed to say our themes at this point, or are we?
If you'd like to, you can present however you'd like.
Well, the theme for mine is An Evening with Satan. Or the devils, or however you want to look at it. But we're going to start off with a Korean film called The Wailing, which is, it is a really creepy, it starts off like as a police investigation film, as they go to this little village and they're trying to figure out, like, there's like mysterious deaths and this illness that's going around. And he's also trying to like help his daughter who's sick. And the story kind of unfolds as like there's these strangers and all of these, people keep getting sick and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then he gets involved and it's a very haunting film. Like, the atmosphere was incredibly, incredibly creepy. And I wanted to start with a foreign film. I know some people don't like subtitles, and I'm like, well, let's start with that first. People aren't going to be sleepy. They won't have a problem with reading the subtitles at 7:00 at night. We'll kick that off. It's a really good movie. It's very creepy. And I'm like, that's a great way to kind of start things off, where it ends, and again, I think because it's, Evening with the Devil, a lot of these films are going to end with fairly dark endings. And so
No.
This one, right? This one definitely does. It's very dark, but I think it's going to be a fun one to kick things off. So that's where I'm starting. The Wailing, 7:00.
That's it. You want to just do your whole...
Oh, I thought we were going to go around. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry. Yes, so I'm going to start off.
We'll keep it running. You got us hooked now. So tell us what happens next.
Okay, so then we're going to jump into. And we'll see. Now I don't have all my things because I was going to use your time.
You're going to use the time.
Is it Damn Yankees? The Bob Fosse musical?
Okay. So next up, we're going to be looking at Osgood Perkins' film, The Blackcoat's Daughter, which is it's a quieter film. It's more of kind of a psychological horror thriller where you have some Catholic schoolgirls. It's winter break and they're left behind at their boarding school. Because for whatever reason or another, there's a couple of them. There's two of them. They're basically stuck there the whole time, and it's this boarding school where you start getting this sense that the nuns are actually Satanists, and there's this whole kind of creepy vibe that starts happening as you start suspecting like what's going on, with these characters and everything, and it's a really interesting structure. You start with one girl and you kind of get her story, and then you go to the other girl and you get her story, and then you get this third character, and the last part is her story. But like they start getting weird phone calls where it's like this deep kind of creepy voice on the line, and it's like, is it the devil? And start seeing figures, and it ends up in the basement, and there's like creepy stuff going on with the boiler room down there. Really terrifying, quiet film, but I think that's a great one to come off of The Wailing. So that's number 2. Number 3, we're going to jump back in time a little bit, and we're going to visit the early days in America. We're going to look at 2015's The Witch, directed by Robert Eggers.
Oh, okay.
This is definitely kind of a witchcraft sort of movie that takes place in the 1600s. And it's a Puritan family, and with a really creepy goat that became very popular. The whole idea of Black Phillip.
Creepy goat is my whole film festival theme.
Oh, is it? Well, I'm sure
Spoilers.
Black Phillip from mine can hop over to yours.
Phillip?
That's right.
Is that the name of the goat?
That's Black Phillip, yeah. And
okay.
So we have Black Phillip, but then this daughter, who this is the first film that I saw Anya Taylor-Joy in. She is kind of. Their family is really religious and very strict and all this stuff. And so there's a lot of kind of drama about kind of the psychology of the religion and everything, and all of this stuff about kind of staying religious and everything. And then it turns into kind of like the story of her thinking that she's a witch, and like the way that the story progresses with the family and everything. And it builds to a really fantastically kind of trippy ending around a witch's Sabbath and a bonfire. And I'll just leave it there. It's a really fantastic and creepy film. We're going to be watching that. I didn't say Blackcoat's Daughter. That's 9:45. The Witch, this is a perfect one to kind of cross the midnight threshold. We'll be watching this from 11:30 to 1:15. At 1:15, we're kicking in with one of my favorite films of John Carpenter. It's Prince of Darkness, which is I don't know why I am so drawn to this film. There's something so creepy about. In this particular case, it's a professor and who gets a bunch of students together to study in this kind of this old monastery where they think there was this thing called the Brotherhood of Sleep, this order that could communicate through dreams and stuff. And so they start studying there. But as they're kind of checking things out, like these homeless people in the area, they keep seeing them like standing outside and just staring. And that always creeps me out more than anything when you have a large group of people who just stand and stare at you. I don't like that. It's very uncomfortable.
That was the Them trailer that
love it.
Mandy had.
Yes.
Yeah, It's super creepy. And so they have this whole idea of this force of evil, this anti-God, and it's just like you got like this green ooze like squirting out of this kind of thing into people, and this girl gets it. She's transformed into this devil being, and it just kind of goes and goes, and it builds to an end where theoretically things are okay, but you're not quite sure as the way the ending is portrayed. So that's my next one. That's Prince of Darkness, kicking in at 1:15, ending about 3 a.m. And this is our final film. And I wanted to end with some fun and just complete utter craziness, even though it is still about the end of the world. It is, of course, This Is the End, Seth Rogen's film that is about old friends, Seth and Jay Baruchel playing themselves, or versions of themselves, I guess you could say. They go to James Franco's house, and just at this same time, like, the rapture happens, and some people start getting sucked up into the heavens through blue beams of light. Meanwhile, they're still all stuck here. LA's having earthquakes and fallen to craziness, and demons start appearing, and you just have all sorts of it. Emma Watson comes in, Rihanna comes in.
She sure does.
Channing Tatum is the gimp that Danny McBride has. Satan comes out of the ground and everything, and yeah, I had so much fun watching this movie. It is a riot, and I think it's a perfect way to end the movie. We walk out of the theater at 4:15 with some laughs. So there is
no bathroom breaks.
No, well, yeah, very few. Yeah, so that's A Night with the Devil. There you go.
All right, very nice. I like that. Yeah, I think that was a nice way to end it too, because everybody is creeped out and sleep deprived.
Exactly.
And you hit them with "This Is the End." And
I was debating, like, do I go really weird at the end, and like,
nice.
But I was like, you know what, I need to have some levity at the end. So it's a fun one.
All right.
And
nice
that's
job.
the only thing that we have in common. Oh wait, is it my turn? No, it's
sure.
Kyle's
No.
turn.
Hey, if you
so
sound like you were
rude.
making a professional transition there. So
I found
go
a
ahead.
way to segue.
Do it.
Because mine ends with a palate cleansing comedy as well.
Oh, well,
great.
Well,
And that's the only thing we have in common, Andy, at all. Mine is much more mainstream, which anybody who's been listening to SatMat would get that that's my taste. And in this time of isolation and feeling quarantined and lonely, the theme of my film festival is ensemble casts, where everybody's together and equal, and they all happen to have lots of great soundtracks too, or three of them. But so the first one with one of the best soundtracks of all time, unequivocally, one of my favorite movies of all time, we're starting with The Big Chill. I mean, there are very few movies that are this perfect in my mind. It's just well written, well crafted, well acted, and it will give you that feeling of being with your friends, which we also desperately need these days.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Great soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one of the best.
Yeah.
And then moving on to my favorite movie, pre-Big Chill, my favorite ensemble movie. I think it was probably all of our favorite movies in our childhood, because I think we're the same age, in our teen years. The Breakfast Club.
Oh, of course.
Now, in this movie, they are all trapped together. So they are together against their will, but they form these bonds, you guys. And she presses that little earring into his hand at the end, and everything is right with the world for just one Saturday at New Trier High. So I love the connections, the human connections in Breakfast Club.
That's a strong one. That's one that I'm like, I feel like my daughter's getting to the point where I could almost show it to her.
I showed it to my daughter too early.
Yeah.
I took her when she was 11.
Too early.
Too early. Yeah. Because I had thought, I had sort of forgotten like what the language is like in it. I was thinking of the TBS sanitized version, which I had probably seen more of than anything else. And I was in the theater going, I made a terrible mistake. But she ended up loving it. She was one of her favorite movies because she was like,
and she's in jail now, so it worked out.
She was like, they were so real. Like they were so sincere about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, not being taken away by Child Protective Services. So
yes, it's a fantastic movie. And for me, it leads into a much sleeker, still a great soundtrack. Another ensemble movie that is just fun all around. It ain't deep. It's not going to make you think, but it's Ocean's 11.
Oh, one
the
of
Jerry
my
Weintraub,
all-time favorite movies.
The original, but it's just fun. And every person in it has such moments to shine. Every member of that cast, you're like, oh, this is my favorite thing he says. No, wait, this is my favorite thing he says. It's just a fun movie, which we did just show to my kid.
Oh,
and
nice.
Really fun. And just when you're thinking like, oh, this is good, I'm having fun, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to make you cry.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm bringing Steel Magnolias to my film festival.
Is that Wheezy? Is that Wheezy's in that one?
Weezer.
Yeah, Weezer.
And it's the greatest female cast. Even Daryl Hannah is good in this movie. That's an accomplishment. This movie, this cast, this dialogue, it's such a beautiful slice of life. It just makes you appreciate friendship and life, and it will make you cry, and if it doesn't, you have no soul. So then, for my last
I just
film,
have to say, my dad took me to that one. My dad took me and my sister to that one. I don't think I thought of stuff like that at the time, but now I'm like, way to go, Dad. It's pretty awesome.
It's so good. And when you're feeling gutted and you just need to laugh, the last ensemble film of my Ensemble Film Festival is Clue. It's just fun. It's
Come
funny,
on, Mandy.
right?
Flames on the side of my face.
burning.
Heaving.
So, yeah, I just thought that's what you want to leave with. Now, that's the one that doesn't have a great soundtrack.
Oh, I don't know. I love the
couldn't
music.
tell you about the soundtrack.
I think the music's great. You got
that's true.
Shaboom Shaboom. You know, it's got good stuff in there. Yeah.
Life could be a dream.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So, nice.
Excellent choice.
Well, yours is certainly more fun than mine.
Well, they're very, very different.
They're
film
very
festivals.
different. I'll go to both of
Yes.
them. How's that?
Mine will be filled with all my gay friends, and it'll be fabulous. And so,
awesome.
Mine's going to sort of split the difference between the two of yours, because mine is Reflections on Blaxploitation. Because my first movie is Foxy Brown from 1974, starring the amazing Pam Grier. This trailer is unbelievable. You need to see it because the whole thing is narrated in rhyme. So it's like the guy saying, when Foxy Brown comes to town, all the brothers gather round, and it just goes on and on and on, and then it ends with, have no fear, Pam Grier is here. So the synopsis on IMDb says, a voluptuous black vigilante takes a job as a high-class prostitute in order to get revenge on the mobsters who murdered her boyfriend. So subtlety is out the window here. These are down and dirty filmmaking. Sex, drugs, violence, murder. I mean, everything is on the table here. So, put your sensibilities aside and step back into the dirtiest part of the 70s in terms of filmmaking, and you can have a good time. This was written and directed by Jack Hill, who did a bunch of these right in a row. Actually, I think her first movie, Coffee, was done almost in the same year. So, I think they shot all these movies within like a couple of weeks, and then they would just do it, turn around and do it again. And so it remains, and it also has Sid Haig, which will be important later on. We recently lost him, but he as a part of this, because a big fan of this film made sort of a light homage to it in 1997, and then my next film is Jackie Brown. So following on with Pam Grier, we get to see her then 20 some odd years later, stepping back into this thing, and there's a lot of homages to it, including Sid Haig, who also shows up in a cameo in this because of his role in Foxy Brown, one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies. So this was adapted from Rum Punch by Elmore Leonard. It has a ton of 70s exploitation, and of course full of Quentin Tarantinoisms. Quentin says that this is the first time he felt like an adult director, because this is a story about adults doing adult things, as opposed to Reservoir Dogs, which is kind of like young guys running around shooting each other. This is a much more calm version. Some might say overlong, but it is much more of a meditation on getting older and that stuff. For a young filmmaker, it was pretty amazing. So having those two sort of back to back, I thought was interesting to also see an actress 20 years difference between the two different roles, and see how she had progressed and stuff too.
Anyone who says that it's too long is wrong. Perfect.
Yeah, so that's a movie that when I remember seeing it coming off of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, I was like, oh, come on. But now, when I revisited it, I kind of went, oh, I see. I was just expecting something that he wasn't there to do. He was telling a different kind of story. And it ends up being one of my favorite of his movies. So following that, we go to a very, very modern movie from 2019, Dolomite Is My Name. So this is Eddie Murphy's playing the real-life legend Rudy Ray Moore. Let's see, a quote from IMDb says, a comedy and rap pioneer who proved naysayers wrong when his hilarious, obscene, kung fu fighting alter ego Dolomite became a 1970s blaxploitation phenomenon. This is a fabulous movie, really, really funny, and tells a story that I had not heard at all before. This is one of Eddie Murphy's best roles, because Eddie Murphy, I think, is at his best these days when he allows himself to be vulnerable, which is very, very rare. And like to see him portraying an aging comedian who's sort of at the end of what he's wanting to do and trying to put something together just out of sheer will and spite. It was really, really good. And it's done by the same guys who wrote Ed Wood, so it's that same kind of idea of a filmmaker who's just desperate to get their story told and do it. So then, of course, I followed that with Dolomite. I think this is the way to see it, because once you see sort of the fictionalized version of how the movie was made, then when you watch the movie, it's funnier on a different place because you kind of understand all the behind the scenes thing of like, when these guys are fighting right behind them, there's 4 guys holding up the wall literally so it doesn't fall over because they couldn't afford to fix the set, those kind of things. So that's from 1975. And getting to know, that's the guy that Wesley Snipes plays. That's the guy that that Keegan-Michael Key plays. Like those kind of things. I think it's fun. And so once you've done that, then to wrap the thing, the same kind of thing, a palate cleanser, a fun movie, Black Dynamite. So from 2009, this was a comedy, like a Naked Gun style version of a blaxploitation movie. And one of the funniest things about it is it's intended to be bad. So the idea is this is an artifact from that time period that has been lost and brought back in time. There's so many great filmmaking gags in it. Like at one scene, the Black Dynamite stands up when he wasn't supposed to, and the camera has to follow him up, and he hits his head against the boom mic, and the boom mic stays in the shot. So he's doing this whole monologue speech, and he keeps looking up at the mic, which is touching his hair. Like, are you ever going to move that? Like, multiple times as he's doing this powerful speech about the drugs in our community, he keeps looking up and thinking, like, that's the take they decided to use in the movie. I mean, one of my favorite gags in it is one of the stuntmen, like they have one of the lead actors actually punches a stuntman, and the stuntman stops and starts to go after him, and they cut immediately, and it's another stuntman in the same outfit. Like they basically have replaced him, and they continue the fight scene. I mean, just it's so funny. And obviously, having seen a couple of blaxploitation movies earlier in the night, you'll have a whole different appreciation for it too. It is one of my favorite movies, and I think this is the way to all the way through. So that is my film festival, my reflections on blaxploitations.
Awesome. We're doing Dolomite Is My Name as our April member bonus episode. So
that's a great, it's a great one. That's one of those things that I just discovered on Netflix and watched and really, really loved it.
I just watched the original Dolomite for kind of prep, and I'm going to try checking out a couple more of Rudy Ray Moore's films if I can, but I'm very much looking forward to it and talking about it with Pete, so it should be fun. I think this is a fantastic look at blaxploitation and kind of back in the 70s, and then in some of the more modern films that are dipping into that. So exciting. I love it. I love that festival.
Yeah. All right. So thank you both for doing that. I appreciate it. I think that was really fun.
Yay,
I hope the audience enjoyed it
awesome.
as much as I did, because I really liked it.
I've got 3 festivals to go to now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can program them all. We'll put them up online so you can have your own mini festivals at home.
Absolutely.
And watch them on their way. But now let's get into the game, because we have been challenged by our listeners to talk about famous hairstyles from movies.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they chose that, but hey.
Well, okay. So I'll tell you why, because the movie this week is the notorious Betty Page. And Betty Page's hairstyle became iconic. Very iconic. Yeah. And so that was, I don't know. For me, it was like an obvious pick to go with that particular movie. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm curious to see what everyone comes up with, because I guess I
have a theme, but
okay.
Of course you do. I can't wait, because you'll know why when I tell you my first choice.
Okay. Well,
but there's been some foreshadowing, gentlemen.
Oh, has there?
Oh, interesting. So, all right, Andy, start us off then. What's your first iconic hairstyle?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the one that, like, as soon as I knew this was an option, this was like, oh, well, I have to do this one, because this is, I guess I'll say, one of the most, for me, like, just one that was like an iconic hairstyle that when it happened, like, it became a thing. And it is Rosemary's Baby. It is Roman Polanski's film from 1968.
Oh, look at that. First
Yeah.
one out, and it's a steal.
Mia Farrow's haircut. She went with the, I don't know, do you call it the pixie? Is that what that's called? I don't know. I tried to learn all these hairstyles beforehand, but it's a very short haircut, and it looks great on her. I thought it worked really well in context of kind of her in the film. And, it's speaking of devils and everything else, I mean, this is actually was another potential for my list, but this is a film where they have some interesting neighbors who seem to be kind of oddly involved in her life as she's going through her pregnancy. And as she finds out, they're giving her these drinks and all these things. And it's because she actually is carrying the child of Satan, who came and raped her, and she thought it was a dream. And it
can happen, you guys.
It really happened. It builds to a really powerful, crazy end. I love it. So I love this movie, and and the hairstyle. I mean, my mom had this hairstyle. It was a very popular hairstyle for a while. So my first pick, Rosemary's Baby.
All right, very nice. I say, do you have a backup, Mandy? Do you have?
Oh, I have so many, you guys.
Okay. So, in Mandy was talking about in her film festival about missing being together. And so I'm also having my own missing things. And one of the things I really like to do that got taken away from me because COVID was going to conventions. So what I chose to be iconic was people that I have seen cosplaying. So all of mine are people that I've actually seen people cosplaying as. So my first one is a woman who likes to change her outfits and her hairstyle to match. And so I'm going to go with Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World in 2010, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Because every time she shows up in a new scene, she has changed her hair color. So all the way through, it's one of these visual things that you can see all the way through. Because that is a very video game influenced movie. So she puts on a new outfit and has to change her hairstyle with that, and you just have to deal with it, is what she tells Scott. So one of my favorite movies, and I think it's a good look.
It's a brilliant movie.
Great movie.
Yeah. So good pick.
So the minute you said convention, I got scared that you were going to steal my first one. And I hope I'm stealing it from one of you. But hairstyles, Princess Leia.
Oh, yes.
That's a steal.
That's a steal. Great choice.
It's a steal for me.
It's a steal for you?
Yep, you stole it.
Oh, look at that.
Revenge is so sweet.
Wow, Mandy and Andy, you guys are on the same page.
That's right.
To be clear, not that I went to school with my hair like that. It wasn't something that we were all imitating, but the Halloween costumes and the bagels and the parody of it for years to come. That was what I thought of for iconic hairstyles.
Yeah.
I totally agree. It was definitely a pick of mine. That hairstyle. Yeah, I didn't see anyone wearing it, like you said, but it's so iconic. Like just the whole spoof, like the whole idea of it became just so representative of the character. So, yep, absolutely. My second one, I'm going with I guess I'll go with this one. I'm going to go with a James Bond film, 1985's A View to a Kill. Grace Jones has she's got a really kind of styled haircut that's it's kind of similar in a sense to what Mia Farrow was doing in my last pick. It's very short, but she also has it kind of almost like kind of the crew cut sort of thing going up on top. So it's a really interesting style that I still see kind of styles of it kind of being imitated to this day. So I always was in love with what Grace Jones, just her whole presence in this film. I was fascinated, and just I thought her hair was super cool. So that's my second pick, A View to a Kill.
What is her Bondian character name?
She plays Mayday.
Mayday, that's it. Yeah. I knew it was one of those cool one name.
Yeah, it's much better than some of the later ones. Like what was like Christmas, whatever.
Yeah, Dr. Christmas Jones. Yeah,
that was Denise Richards, right?
Denise Richards, exactly.
Yeah,
look at you,
Nicolau on the top.
Yeah, there you go. There's a very Bondian name.
Yeah. All right, so my second one, it's hard to go wrong when you talk about the supreme being. So my choice is Lilu from The Fifth Element, played by Milla Jovovich. She had the orange, short hair. I've seen that in countless conventions of people going that, men and women. And there's a lot of heavyset dudes who can't pull off the Jean-Paul Gaultier, but God bless them for trying.
How many of them would you say do you see trying to do the Chris Tucker hair from Fifth Element? Like
he was my first choice, but I'm like, I've never actually seen anybody pull it off.
Okay, because I was wondering, because that certainly is another.
It is really, really cool.
Yeah,
I thought that too, but sort of going by my own rules there. But so if you guys if you're going to steal from each other again, feel free to take that one.
This occurred to me, and I don't know. I mean, I know it was a huge social trend at the time that this movie came out, but when you said iconic hairstyles, like I can picture it on the poster, but I can't say that society copied her, but I think that this trend, when you think of Foxy Brown, you picture her gorgeous afro, and that was such an iconic look. And then out of nowhere, you were like, I'm doing Foxy Brown but like, I think it's strange for both of us to come up with Foxy Brown in 1 week. No?
I do. It shows how in sync we are, Mandy.
And how iconic it was. I mean, it was really
absolutely 100%.
Like, her look on that poster. I can still see it. So, Pam Grier, Foxy Brown.
Yeah. And even in Black Dynamite, they have somebody who has the same hair too, just because it's that iconic. So
right.
Yeah. Very nice. All right. My final pick. I am going back a little bit farther in time. I really was trying to find some men, but I just don't think that that's something where there's like the male haircut that all of a sudden inspired a trend. Like, I don't think people were going out and doing the Forrest Gump or anything.
No. The other thing I can think would be George Clooney in ER, but that's television.
Well, yeah. I was thinking there's some TV
the Caesar
ones.
cut for a while,
Yeah, right. But so I'm jumping back to what I think. When I think of like Hollywood iconic hairstyles, I feel like Veronica Lake is one who always comes to mind for me. And so I'm looking at Sullivan's Travels, which is a fantastic comedy directed by Preston Sturges with Joel McCrea as a film director who wants to do something socially relevant. And so he kind of poses as a vagrant and goes a life on the road to try figuring out kind of what the people want and all this. And of course, in the end, what they're really wanting is just a comedy, but fantastic film. Veronica Lake is the woman that he kind of ends up with, and kind of like as kind of the person that he's kind of like hanging out with as he's this quote hobo. And her hairstyle, that look that she had, which I don't think started in this film, but it was like right around this time where she her hair just kind of fell over one eye, and that just became the thing, like so iconic to do. And so I just feel like that certainly is one of those iconic hairstyles that came from this from Veronica Lake or in this era.
Andy.
So, Sullivan's Travels.
Really good.
Well, thank you.
As soon as you said it, I could see it.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a mark of a good choice.
All right.
My last one then is from another comic book movie. I'm not. I guess I am different than a lot of people. Is that I don't really care about accuracy as much. Like whenever they try and do something that looked exactly like it was drawn, I think it fails. And so the one I've chosen is actually they went a completely different way with the character. Now this character is actually from Marvel Comics and had been traditionally drawn as a very skinny white woman, but instead they cast a regular sized black woman in the role, and it's Domino from Deadpool. And she, instead of having a very slicked down dark hair, she has natural hair. Like she basically has, her hair is completely huge and flowing and everything, and it is a great look, totally different than the character, and yet she played that character amazingly well. So Zazie Beetz as Domino.
Very fun.
Okay, my last choice, and then I have several alts, but my last choice is just personal. It has, I don't know if it was truly iconic, but I know that I emulated this hair from the time I was in like third grade when this movie came out all the way through high school. And I still wish I could achieve the hair of Michelle Pfeiffer as Stephanie Zanoni in Grease 2.
Oh, wow.
She had the feathery bangs.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just a personal thing. She is my personal icon. Maybe not, it didn't sweep the nation, but I think it did, because all the girls were cutting our bangs and we were all like trying to get them to feather, and I was chewing gum with my mouth open. All these things that Stephanie Zanoni did and made look so good. And to this day, I would kill to look like Michelle Pfeiffer for just a minute. So there it is.
I like that
Stephanie
there's a
Zanoni,
personal
Grease
element
2.
to that one.
Yeah. Good choice. Aren't they working on a Grease prequel series?
Oh, geez.
I have no
Didn't I
idea.
hear that? I think they are. I think they're trying to do a television series like preceding it. We'll see how it goes.
Hey,
all right, so that was our list.
And just to confirm, yours was Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so then now it's time to pick the list for next week. So next week is the first in a brand new series. It's the Stephen King a la Darabont series.
That's right.
And it's from the iconic TBS classic, The Shawshank Redemption. Between
It sure
that and
felt that
TNT,
way.
I think it's in heavy rotation.
Yeah.
Even with all it says. So that is the next one coming up. So we need to do on that. Now, I had already thought of one when I heard Shawshank Redemption, and it's not on the list. So my pick, I'm going to say right now, is characters in movies listening to music. My favorite scene in Shawshank is when they're actually playing the opera and everyone's listening to it. So not needle drops, not like when a cool song or a great soundtrack. When characters in the movie are listening to the music.
Does it count if they're like at a concert, or would it need to be a record or something?
I was thinking.
I think there's a
more
difference
like,
for sure.
Either listening in headphones or listening on a record, like basically playing. Yeah, I would say that. Pre-recorded, I guess we're going to say that. So like characters who are listening to music.
I like it. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, because I already thought of like 2 or 3. Just I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I can think of a couple already. So
yeah,
cool. Okay. What do you think,
so that's
Mandy?
my first one. You have seen Shawshank Redemption?
Oh yes, many times.
I think it's required.
It's an incredible film. I like. I'm checking out this list.
Mm-hmm.
Wrongfully Convicted seems too on the nose to me. Ominous Prisons. Is there any other kind?
Mm-hmm.
Great movie voiceover, so broad.
Mm-hmm.
But my eye goes right to iconic movie pinups, perhaps because of Andy talking about Veronica Lake. But
okay,
I feel like they play a role for a lot of characters in a lot of films. So, and no one put like the Farrah Fawcett, but like there could be lots of different iconic movie pinups. It doesn't even say that they have to be these ladies that are mentioned here.
No, they're just
Shawshank.
Right, exactly.
Iconic movie pinups. I like that one.
Okay, and now does it need to be? I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be just women. I mean, it could be. I'm thinking of like some iconic pictures of men that seem iconic from particular films. So I like that.
Are these about the actresses who are also famous pinups? Or is it about like having a poster of the person in the movie?
Yeah, the pinup is in the movie the way it is.
That's what I
like Raquel Welch,
just so people know.
10,000 Years BC or whatever that one was.
I can think of a couple. I don't want to give them away to make it easier for those fools.
Exactly. I'm just pulling from the ones that are in Shawshank.
Yeah. I was just thinking, is it about the person who's on the picture, or you mean an actual picture in the movie?
I would say it's kind of one that comes from the film, like because otherwise I think it's hard to
poster / picture / billboard,
right, where it's like you're hanging that up. It represents the movie and it represents that actor in the role.
Okay,
and you're drawn to it. I think that's what makes the movie pinup, such a draw. Anyway, right?
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to clarify. So when they listen to the episode, they know what they're doing. So
yeah.
So what jumps out to you, Andy?
There's a lot of potential directions that you can take with Shawshank, but I love the idea of making a run for the border. So I'm going to say fleeing to Mexico, or just should I specifically say Mexico?
Actually, run for the border is a pretty
let's
good
just say run for the border.
Right there.
Yeah, make a run for the border. Okay, there it is.
Okay,
those are the list
so we've got characters listening to music, iconic pinups, and run for the border. So those things. So
love it.
So now you're saying to yourself, hey, fashion plates, I like the cut of your lapels. How can a fashion disaster like myself get involved? An excellent question. If you navigate your browser over to nextreel.com/membership and sign up, for a mere $1 a month, you can become a one-reeler and get access to our Discord server. And hey, that shirt looks good on you. But wait, you say. What say I want to do more and also get a little something for myself? Well, you stunning supermodel, if you up your monthly donation, you can ascend to two-reeler status, where you'll be able to watch live streams as we record, like this one, plus get early access to new episodes of our shows in an exclusive, private podcast feed. Plus, we'll provide you behind-the-scenes catwalk access to the super-secret member channels on Discord, like the sample sale of all sample sales, the Show Talk channel. What's so important about the Show Talk channel? I'm glad you asked, trendsetter. If you'd like to vote in next week's poll, the only place you can do so is on that Show Talk channel. Monthly, you say. I'm dressed to the nines, custom tailored, and lapels on everything. I want to help with you with your own makeover. Then good news. You can now give us an annual donation for any level. It's convenient. It's affordable. It's good for your soul. And because enough is never enough, and you've patiently listened to all this self-promotion, here's a glimpse at next season's catalog. If you go to nextreel.com/letterboxd, you can upgrade your Letterboxd account to Pro or Patron with a 20% off discount. But you trilby-wearing hipster, I've already upgraded my Letterboxd account. Well, you're in luck. The discount also works for renewals. Give a little, get little. It's the only way 2021 is going to work for all of us. And that's our show. Thank you for listening along. Mandy, can you give us a sneak peek of what the next Mandemic Mondays have in store for us?
Yes, well, I am now doing it with the incredible Megan Parlin, because Mandy Fabian is off making her feature film.
Woohoo!
And Megan and I, Megan, Mandy's stand-in, Megan and I reviewed the movie The Stand-In on Netflix.
Very nice.
It's starring Drew Barrymore. That episode drops Monday, and then this weekend we're going to watch Searching for Sheila, which is the follow-up doc from Wild Wild Country. Sheila was the one who helped bring down that cult, the Rajneesh cult.
Oh,
nice.
Very nice.
You guys are looking at me like, what is she talking about? I'm making it all up. I don't know.
And Andy, when are we going to hear your dulcet tones next?
Well, obviously we've got the main show with let's see, the Notorious Betty Page just went live. We've got The Shawshank Redemption coming out next week with some special guests, which we're very excited about. And this weekend, I'm actually doing another Film Board episode with a couple of our hosts, and we're going to be talking about Stowaway, one of the new films on Netflix.
Netflix space thriller.
Yes, should be fun.
Should be going, yeah. I just recently released another Take 10 about director's cuts. It's out there. I'm not exactly sure where, but it's out there in the Next Reel family of podcasts.
It's in the ether.
Marvel Movie Minute is up and running. We are finally hit Monaco, and we're going to finally see a supervillain show up in the next couple episodes, so you don't want to miss those. So thank you all for listening. Stay subscribed. Do all the things. We thank you all for listening, and we'll be back here next week for the next Saturday Matinee. Enough said.